Message from General Pepper. Priority 1.
We need your help, Star Fox. Andros has declared war. He's invaded the Lylat System and is trying to take over Corneria. Our army alone can't do the job. Hurry, Star Fox.
Well, that's certainly a flashier intro than the original Star Fox. Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Play Star Fox 64. Quite a bit more of an in-depth game than the first one, and I've always liked the detail that you can move the 64 on the screen, they follow it. I should note, there is technically a second title screen you can get where everyone's positions moved around a little bit. I'll go more over how you get that much later in the game, because for right now we're just going to be doing the first couple of levels. So let's not mess around, let's go right into the main game, though if you're new to the game I'd recommend going to the training mode instead.
Corneria, fourth planet of the Lylat System. The evil Andros turned this once thriving system into a wasteland of near extinction. General Pepper of the Cornerian army was successful in exiling this maniacal scientist to the barren, deserted planet Venom. 5 years later, General Pepper noticed strange activity coming from Venom. James McCloud, Pigma Dangar, and Peppy Hare of the Star Fox team were sent to investigate. Upon their arrival, Pigma betrayed the team, and James and Peppy were captured by Andros. Peppy barely escaped Venom and returned home to tell James' son, Fox, about his father's fate. A few years have passed. Andros has again invaded the Lylat System. General Pepper has turned to a new Star Fox team, headed by Fox McCloud, to save Corneria and free the Lylat System once again.
And here we have our world map path screen like in Star Fox 1, but unlike Star Fox 1 where it was a stagnant screen, we have a rotating solar system here that you can actually control the speed of the rotation yourself using the analog stick. But let's not mess around, let's press the Start/A button and get right into our first level.
It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
I'll do my best. Andros won't have his way with me.
Good luck.
Open the wing. Check your G-diffuser system.
Falco here. I'm fine.
This is Peppy. All systems go.
Flippy here. I'm okay.
I see him up ahead. Let's rock and roll.
And right in we go. The basic controls, you press the analog stick to move, of course. A is your fire button. B will use your smart bombs, which are semi-area screen wipes. They have a bit of a range to them, though. And you use the Z and R buttons in order to rotate your ship. Use that to either squeeze between tight spaces, or you can double tap to do a barrel roll, which will reflect off any projectiles. If you hold the shoot button, you'll charge up your laser into a homing one, which can hail in on enemies like that, saving people like Slippy from being chased. Your partners all have HP in this game, but it actually does something, unlike Star Fox 1 where they were just sort of in the stages. The characters will not only shoot down other enemies for you, as well as help you along the way, but they'll also have extra benefits in boss fights, and in certain cases unlock other pathways through the game. With that said, they never shut up. They are very chatty. And admittedly, I do like a lot of the dialogue, because at least implies that they have, you know, relationships with each other. They're not just stagnant personalities that just go, have-a-dip, have-a-dip. But it does get a little annoying on repeat playthroughs. You can also use the C buttons for a bunch of options in this game. C down is how you brake. C, I think it's C left. I can't remember if it's C left or C up is how you do a boost forward. You can also press those in conjunction with the analog stick in order to do either a somersault or a U-turn. With that said, those come more into play during later parts of the game. Now, whatever you're doing, you want to make sure you save Falco here, because one of the two options you can do here on Corneria depends on whether or not he is active in the stage. Now, the thing is, pickups you can find throughout the game, you got the silver and red and gold rings, rather, which restore your HP. If you get 3 gold rings, your health is also extended for that stage. But then you've got the smart bombs themselves, which increase the amount of smart bombs you can have, and you can carry more than you can visually see. They eventually just make it into a counter, rather than just showing them visually. But you also have laser pickups, which are L's with green lines around them. That'll first upgrade it to a dual blaster, and then a blue dual blaster that does a lot more damage. Oh, well, that thing's certainly going that way. We can't do anything about that, though. At least not for now. Somersault is used to get a couple of items that are placed in awkward positions, but it's mostly used in certain other control variants we'll see later on.
Enemy robot, dead ahead.
Let's go. All range mode.
Ah, so this is Star Fox. I'm going to crush you.
First boss of the game on this pathway is Granga, and it's also the introduction of all range mode. Technically not the first time it existed, as it did exist in Star Fox 2 originally, which was made by Argonaut Software, but that game ended up being unreleased until the Switch Super Nintendo Online within the past couple of years, barring an unofficial ROM leak, of course. The thing is about all range mode is that your control isn't too drastically different, but if you want to actively use the Z and R button in order to make your turn sharper, in order to make corners better, so you can try to home in on the boss better. For instance, Granga here, you can only damage the either the legs or the back of his mech. The back of his mech is where he actively takes damage, but you want to target his legs so that he just stops moving, period. As he turns pretty quickly and moves overall pretty quickly, though admittedly he doesn't really do much in terms of the attack department. He can try to shoot at you, but you honestly, in my experience, move faster than his projectiles can try to come at you. Same with your friends. Like, that missile tried to home in on me, it's failing.
My Emperor! I failed you!
We're heading out. All aircraft report.
You did it! I was worried for a moment.
You're becoming more like your father.
I'm fine. You okay over there, Fox?
Yeah, we're doing fine. The Granga's very easy. Honestly. I don't think I've ever actually died to him unless I came in there with low HP from otherwise reckless playing during the level itself. Corneria 1 itself, though, isn't too bad. And now we're being thrown into our next stage. This is the Meteor Zone, otherwise known as Meteo. Your score is taken care of, and there are reasons for that, but I'll go over those when there's less mechanics to explain throughout the game, so probably not until, like, part 2 or 3, somewhere in that range. Also, I recorded every single level individually, so you're going to see a lot of crossfades between stages.
Impressive, Star Fox. Now watch out for enemies in the asteroid field.
I won't let you down, sir.
luck.
Things are starting to heat up.
Quit dinking around, Flip. We're heading into the asteroid.
Alright, so when you're in the space stages, you actually have an extra little control where you can press... I think you can actually do it in the ground levels too, now I think about it. I think it's if you press C up, you'll enter several different camera modes. You can either have a closer camera like this, a straight-up first-person camera that is hella disorienting in my experience, just due to how quickly you move in this game, and a slightly further back version of the current camera we're seeing. Not much reason to use those in my eyes, just stick with whatever the game has by default, really, in my experience. Now, the big thing that is different between ground and space stages is how they place hazards in the level. Ground levels, it's usually going to be the ground itself and whatever's coming out of it, but in the space stages, they can play things a lot more freeformly, and that means you have to keep a little bit more of an eye out. They can also be a little more reckless with their enemy placements. With that said, they're all still standard shooter segments, so you don't have to worry too much about surprises left and right, barring one mechanic this game adds that this stage technically first introduces. But again, we're not going over that until next part. This is where they want you to continue to learn the mechanics of the game, especially using the brake and boost effectively. For instance, we're going to have some meteors closing in on each other up here. Honestly, my general playstyle for Star Fox, especially 64, is just to use the boost whenever I can. Don't really use the brake too much. And that's partially because I played this at a later point in my life than Star Fox 1. Star Fox 1 I grew up with. We had it on my... I think I've called it my brother's Super Nintendo, but it's technically my dad's Super Nintendo. We didn't have SF64, though. We didn't have this. My brother thinks we did, but no, that is a cartridge I bought at a comic store. Chris, give it back to me. That is my copy. Now, occasionally, the C right button icon will show up at the top of the screen. That is a phone communication of some sort over your telecoms. Usually it's Rob64 sending you a bonus pickup like that, but it can be, kind of depends on the stage, and I want to see what you might need at that point even. It can be smart bombs, it can be a laser thing in at least a couple of cases, I think. But it's usually going to be health pickups, normally a silver ring, sometimes a gold ring. There's even also some stars that you can collect that are basically just pointed versions of these silver and gold rings. I think those just give more health. But they show up very rarely in my experience, usually only in later levels. Now, something you should also keep in mind about the charge shots we're showing off here is that it has an area effect that can explode more enemies, and the more enemies you destroy in either a row or with a single attack, you get a bigger bonus to your hit count, which is the number on the top left there. That is basically your score for that level. And it doesn't play too much of a purpose casually, but if you're going for a true 100% save, I guess, / cart, you do need to get certain scores in every level. I'll start counting what those are once we actually engage the first one of that type, so to speak. Because I do get at least one of those through the game. Also, checkpoints in this game are a little odd in that, if I recall, you need to get a certain score within the level before that point in order for them to spawn. So death can be a little punishing in this game in that regard if you're not being too aggressive, but it's a space shooter. You're probably going to get the aggression level just right just by matching the button. Now, we're going to ignore these blue rings for here for now until, I believe, next part, 2 parts from now, somewhere in that range. Just keep those in mind for later. They're very important for getting every level in the game, technically. Now, something I'm being very careful to avoid, you might notice whenever I get hits, my wings flash red. If your wings get destroyed, you lose your current beam upgrade, so I would lose my dual blasters. And you lose wings, you actively get worse control, too. Like, if you're in a land stage, you'll slowly drift left or right. But you also are worse at cornering and turning and all that. I'm just trying my best to avoid that as best I can. I think it only happens maybe once or twice throughout the game.
I cannot allow you to go any further.
Enemy shield analyzed.
Let's see what you've got.
Alright, second boss is the Meteor Crusher. It has a shield that'll block off most of its weak points early on in the fight, but if you're pretty quick on the fire button, you can take them out, no problem. The shield will eventually fly at you once you take care of the early weak points, but it's easy to dodge. Also, if you're ever wondering where you can shoot a boss fight, if it's not immediately obvious, it's always points that are glowing yellow. Now, something I should take note of. I am playing the N64 version of this, which is a little bit more seizure-inducing than the Virtual Console and 3DS remake of the game. Because whenever you see a white flash in this, in the Virtual Console version, it was replaced with a red flash. This includes whenever you hit an enemy, certain effects happen, or when you die.
I'm no match for you. I admit defeat. Are you gonna listen to that monkey? You're not as stupid as you look!
I believe the 3DS version keeps all those intact. Phase 2 is honestly a bit easier because you actually can just take him out outright like that.
I can't believe I lost to this scum! Sorry to jest, but I'm in a hurry. All aircraft report.
I'm fine.
I saw my life flash before my eyes. You worry about your own hide.
Damn, Falco, that's just kind of rude, man. But that's Meteo. It's pretty simple to go through it. Honestly, if I ever end myself in this level, I always do that route rather than the one we're going to be seeing later on, because it's just easier in my eyes. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we're going to continue through the game, heading into the next stage, Ficina, where things get a little more complicated. See you guys then.